All right, everybody. Hello, welcome back to Gemballer Media. If you're new here, welcome to Gemballer Media, the hub for all things men's college basketball. Today, we're going to be diving into the men's Bracketology 2025 NCAA tournament, updated today. Auburn, still the number one overall seed. UNC finally is the first team out. I don't think they should make it. Wake Forest is the last team in. Couple new updates to look on over here. Villanova's the next four out. Georgia, Boise State's kind of been hot right now. UNC, Indiana with that big win over Purdue. SMU just lost this weekend. I'm pretty sure they probably should have been in if they had won. Xavier's also there. So got some teams on the bubble. Last four in, we got Nebraska, Oklahoma, Arkansas's heating up, Wake Forest barely in. So let's dive into this setup. I will link down below this bracket. I got it off of the Plex Kits website, so I'll link this down below for you guys. And let's just get right on into it. I'm going to zoom in one more time. All right, so first round we have Auburn versus either Southern or American. Auburn, no doubt in my mind. Going on down to Creighton and Gonzaga. Gonzaga has been down this year, so is Creighton, but I trust Mark Few a little bit more, and I'm also a Zag fan, so I am going to go with Gonzaga, though. I think they have so much experience. Then for Oregon versus Drake, I'm going to go with Drake in this one. I know Oregon just beat... They just beat somebody. Oh, they just beat Wisconsin this weekend, but I don't know. I think Wisconsin's a little overrated, and I don't know. I was high in Oregon at the beginning of the year, but I think Drake could get a really good 12/5 win right now. I am trying to go about this bracket thinking who's playing the best basketball right now. The tournament were to start today. So that's kind of the mindset I'm going in with it. Then we have Arizona and Akron. Akron plays in, I think, the Patriots League, and they're good in the Patriots League, but they've also played some pretty close games, and I just think with Arizona being in the Big 12, you can't doubt them, and I am a strong believer in Caleb Love in March. All right, then we have some terrible 6 and 11 seeds, to be so frank. Kansas has been terrible recently, so has Ohio State. But if I had to pick, I would trust Bill Self in March over, I don't even know who Ohio State's coach is. Going on down to Kentucky versus JMU. I really wanted to be able to pick JMU in this game, but they are 20-9 in their conference. They're not as dominant as they were last year. Kentucky also can score the dang ball, so I am going to pick Kentucky in this one. Memphis versus Vanderbilt. I am in December was a strong Memphis fan. I think they can be really good. I also think they can be really bad. Vanderbilt, I think playing in the SEC, they are a strong team. They're a built team. They've had some great wins over Tennessee. They also beat Alabama, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to pick a little upset here and go Vanderbilt. They were on the bubble or like a play-in game last week, and now they're a 10 seed. So I like Vanderbilt in that one. Then we have Michigan State versus Robert Morris. I'm going to go Michigan State. They just steamrolled Michigan at home for Michigan. All right, moving back up, we're going to just do each region. So we then have Auburn versus Gonzaga. Unfortunately, sad, this is when my beloved Gonzaga Bulldogs run comes to an end, and Auburn's going to make it to the Sweet 16. I just think there are too many guys on Auburn that can just step up whenever they're needed. Drake versus Arizona. I think this could be totally a game that Drake could take over and just play some really good basketball. But I also think Caleb Love could really take over and play some good basketball. And I don't think Tommy Lloyd has made it to the Sweet 16 since he's been coaching at Arizona. And I do think this is Arizona's year. So I am going to go with Arizona in this one. I also do want to say I'm going to be doing an entire Cinderella bracket after this video. So if this is a little bit chalky, don't worry. I have a really exciting one coming soon. All right, going back down, we have Kansas versus Kentucky. I think Kansas is over, and I think Kentucky is going to kind of get a lucky draw and is going to make it to the Sweet 16. Then we have Vanderbilt and Michigan State. I love Vanderbilt, but I do think Michigan State is just the stronger team, especially right now. And then moving on up for the Elite Eight, I am going to have Auburn beat Arizona. I just think Auburn is a powerhouse, and Arizona's run comes to an end. Then we have Kentucky, Michigan State. I think, again, this is when the Kentucky run does come to an end. I think Michigan State can play obviously pretty good defense and it's going to shut down Kentucky. Michigan State can also score the ball when needed, and I think Kentucky's lack of defense is going to bite them in the butt. And I'm going to pick Michigan State to make it to the Elite Eight. Moving on down to the Final Four. I am going to have Auburn beating Michigan State to go to the Final Four. I just have trust in Auburn. I mean, even when Janai Broome was out, they still were winning and looked amazing. So Auburn just always the next guy up mentality. I do think that they are kind of a little bit cocky, very confident, but sometimes you need that for a basketball team, and I think Auburn definitely has that. Going on down to the next region, we have Florida versus Omaha. I'm going Florida in this one. I would love to see a 16 upset over a 1 seed, but this year I don't have one in this bracket. This is the first one I'm uploading of me doing this, so I'm sure there will be one at some point. I want to do a bunch of these before the tournament. Next up, we have BYU versus Utah State. We got in-state rivals. I am going to go BYU. BYU's been on fire. They've steamrolled Kansas. They beat Arizona. They've had some really good wins this year, so I am confident to say they beat Utah State. Big 12's still really good this year. All right. Then we have Clemson versus UC San Diego. I have never been super high on Clemson. I know this year they have a great win against Duke. For me, there's just something about Clemson. I don't know if I just don't like how they play, but they also have had such good runs in March. You got to trust them. But also, everyone's really high on UCSD. I know I have to pick a 12 upset. I already did have Drake winning, but I'm trying to decide. I think I am going to pick Clemson to win just because of their recent experiences in March. I do think it'll be a close game, though. Purdue versus Jacksonville State. I am going to go Purdue. Again, I'm not super high on Purdue. Then we have UCLA versus either Arkansas, Wake Forest in the playing game. I am going to go Arkansas to win that playing game, and I am going to have Arkansas beating UCLA. I do like Arkansas. I think that they're getting hot at the right time. Then we have Texas A&M, number 3 versus 14, Towson. I don't know much about Towson, but I know I'm a big A&M fan. I love Wade Taylor, and I think that they can definitely get into the second round. Then we have Ole Miss, number 7 versus number 10, VCU. I'm going with a little upset here, going with number 10, VCU to get the win over Ole Miss. Ole Miss has not impressed me really at all this year. The only time they did is when they beat Alabama, I'm pretty sure in like mid-January is when I was watching them. And they're just kind of up and down. I'm not a huge fan of them. And VCU just beat George Mason pretty easily by like 16. It was 70-54 this weekend or yesterday, I'm pretty sure. So VCU is definitely going to win, hopefully, their conference, or they might just get an at-large bid. So I'm looking out for VCU. Unfortunately, though, they will have to play Iowa State, which it's Iowa State and they're amazing. So we'll see how that pans out. Then we have Florida versus BYU. I could see an upset here. I definitely could. And I'm thinking about it. I could visualize it. I'm going to go down here. All right. I think right now BYU has just been hot, and I'm gonna pick them to beat Florida. I think right now, who's playing the best basketball right now? BYU is up there. They're in the top 25 now. Anything can happen. It's March. For Clemson versus Purdue, I do think that Braden Smith is going to get hot and Purdue's going to make the Sweet 16. Going on down to Arkansas versus A&M. I think Arkansas could go all the way to the Elite Eight if they put everything together, but have they all season? No. I feel like A&M has been more reliant this season, so I'm going to go A&M. VCU versus Iowa State. Unfortunately, I really want VCU to win. I haven't watched them at all this year. I have to watch them before the tournament starts. But I am going to put my trust in Iowa State. I think they went through their losses. They have a lot of their players back, question mark though, because two of their best players, Lipsy, I'm pretty sure was out, and then I don't remember his name, but they had two of their best players out. Two of their top three scorers were out playing against Houston. However, they only did lose by like 9 in that game. So I am confident in that Iowa State pick. Going on up to BYU versus Purdue, I think this is unfortunately a really clear path to the Elite Eight for Purdue, but yeah, I think BYU runs out of steam. I do think Purdue's going to make it in this bracket to the Elite Eight, and then Texas A&M versus Iowa State. I see Iowa State getting this win, and I see clear as day Iowa State beating Purdue. So we're going to put Iowa State into the Final Four. Let's move on over to the next region. We have Duke versus either Marist or Southeast Missouri State. Duke is Duke, so no questions there. Moving on down, seeing UConn as a 9 seed is insane, but I am going to pick New Mexico to get the win. They just beat Utah State, who's the second best team in the Mountain West Conference, and New Mexico looks really good right now. They're almost ranked. They're like 22-5, really good record. Have some good wins, so I'm going to go New Mexico in that game. It's crazy to think UConn couldn't win, but if we're doing best teams right now, I think New Mexico's the better quality team right now. I mean, UConn's literally losing to Seton Hall, so that tells you a lot. Then Missouri versus McNeese State. This could be an upset, but I really like Missouri right now. I don't think they're like Elite Eight caliber or anything of that nature, but I do think they've had some really impressive wins. They can score the ball. They put on over 100 points on Alabama, which I guess that doesn't say a ton because of how terrible Alabama's defense is, but McNeese State does not play in as high of a conference. They're always really enjoyable and fun to watch, but I do think they're not as dominant this year as they normally are, so I'm going to pick Missouri. Then we have Michigan versus Lipscomb. I watched Michigan play this year against TCU at the beginning of the year, beat TCU by 12. I'm a TCU fan if you guys are new here. Michigan did just get beat pretty bad by Michigan State. It wasn't terrible. It was like 12 points, but it was at home versus Michigan State. Lipscomb, haven't watched them at all. I do have enough trust in Michigan to get that win, though. Then moving down to St. Mary's versus Texas, I do see St. Mary's winning this game. I know St. Mary's has never won a game in March. I'm pretty sure. I think this is their year. They've beat Gonzaga twice this year or 3 times this year. And I watched them when they played Gonzaga. They have such a calm essence about them. I think they'll bring that into March. I don't think they're going to make a Final Four, but I do think they can beat Texas. Texas has been very up and down this season, and I have more calm and trusting feelings towards St. Mary's at this moment. Then we have Texas Tech versus Utah Valley. I am going to pick Tech in this game. I got to see Tech play live against TCU last Tuesday, and they played very poorly against TCU. We beat them, but I will say Tech can score the ball and they can play really good defense. So if Tech's shots are hitting, they can make a run. I also just think against Utah Valley, it's not a question. Tech is going to get that win. Moving on down to Louisville versus West Virginia. West Virginia, I think they lost one of their best players for the remainder of the season. They did. I think it's the coach's son. They've been okay in Big 12 play, but Louisville has just been more dynamic this year, and I'm going to go with them. I was not impressed when I watched West Virginia play. Then we have Tennessee versus Central Connecticut. I'm going to go Tennessee. Duke versus New Mexico. I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be closer than some may anticipate. I definitely see it within like probably 7 to 8 points, but I do have Duke winning that game. Missouri versus Michigan. That's a really good one. This is the first one I really had to think about. I'm going to go with Missouri's playing really good basketball right now. Michigan's a little bit down. Michigan plays Minnesota tonight, or Nebraska. Let's see. Um, Michigan beat Nebraska by 3 points. So I'm going to go Missouri. I have more faith in them right now. St. Mary's versus Tech. I do think that Tech is going to be hot in the tournament. I just have a feeling. So we're going to go Texas Tech in this game. Louisville versus Tennessee. I know that Tennessee's offense has not been as dominant this season, and I don't think that they're as strong as they have been in recent years. Haven't watched Louisville enough this season. I haven't really watched them at all. Honestly, I'm going to just go out on a limb right here. Haven't seen Louisville play at all this year. I need to watch them. It might have been very early in the year, but I just looked at some of their just stat sheets, and Louisville can score the ball. And if Tennessee's offense isn't up to par with Louisville's, I think Louisville's offense might be able to succeed Tennessee's defense. So I'm going to go with a little upset here. We're going to have a 7 seed making it to the Sweet 16 and with Louisville. Duke, Missouri. I'm going to go Duke in this one. I think that they're just really good. Um, then Tech in Louisville. This is an interesting one. Seeing Tech play live, Tech has also been losing the past couple games. I think they're falling in the rankings a little bit. Honestly, let's keep this fun. I'm a little high on Louisville right now. Let's go. Let's pick Louisville. We will have an ACC matchup in the Elite Eight, which will be interesting. With that though, I do think Duke will have a pretty easy path because they've already played each other. As you guys can see here, Duke and Louisville played beginning of December, and Duke won by 11. However, I don't think that is bad, and teams obviously come a long way in those 3 months between March and December, for December to March. So I could see a fun upset happening here, but we're going to go with the safe bet and the understandable decision and go with Duke in this one. Coming on down, Alabama versus Bryant. Bryant is in Rhode Island, and I'm from Rhode Island, but I do think Alabama, respectfully, is going to shoot the lights out in that game. Going on down to number 8 Illinois versus number 9 Baylor. This game, I'm honestly, if this was a real game that was on, I probably wouldn't really pay much attention to it because both these teams have been so honestly disappointing this year. But I am gonna go with a slight upset with Baylor, number 9. Just the fact that Illinois lost to Duke by 40 points is honestly a joke. And I don't think Baylor would have lost by 40. They did lose by 40 to Gonzaga at the beginning of the year, but I don't think that would happen again. And I just think right now, Baylor would not lose to Duke by 40. 20, maybe, but not 40. Maryland versus Yale. Okay, I have not watched Yale or Maryland much this year. I was really high in Maryland at the beginning of the year. I think I watched them a little bit. I really liked their freshmen. I thought they were really talented. Yale is undefeated in Ivy League play. Yale's always one of those teams. It's like they could kind of just like break your heart a little bit, you know? But Maryland, I think they're hot at the right time right now. And so unfortunately, I don't think that Yale is going to have their little Cinderella run this year, which makes me sad. But we're going to go Maryland in this one. Maryland will be very enjoyable to watch this year. Going down to the 4th seed, St. John's versus High Point. I'm going St. John's all the way. I'm really high on them right now. Going down to Marquette, the 6th seed, either versus Nebraska or Oklahoma. I would have Oklahoma winning this game. I really enjoy their team. I think they're enjoyable to watch. They play fast, very athletic. In this game, Marquette versus Oklahoma. Marquette, if Cam Jones is on, they can beat almost anybody, subtracting like probably the top 5 teams. But I'm going back and forth. Something about this makes me want to pick Oklahoma. So honestly, let's just do it for fun. Let's go. But then I'm looking down here. I will have Wisconsin beating Chattanooga, but oh, I'm like, oh, this is difficult because I'm like, if Marquette, I think if Oklahoma made this here, Oklahoma wouldn't beat Wisconsin. But I think if Marquette made it, then they would beat Wisconsin. So I'm trying to decide like what I want this to look like. Do I think that Marquette can make it to the Sweet 16? Probably not. Do I think Wisconsin can make it to the Sweet 16? More so than Marquette. So we're going to go Oklahoma winning this one. A little upset. Number 11 versus number 6. Moving on down to Mississippi State versus San Diego State. I have been very high on Mississippi State the whole year, even during their ups and downs. But I do think SDSU has had so much tournament experience. Their coach knows how to win in March. Mississippi State is kind of hitting a decline at a bad time. So I'm going to go SDSU. Also, both of these teams play really slow. And if I had 2 slow teams and then one of those teams made the national championship 2 years ago, I'm going to go with the national championship tournament team 2 years ago. So I'm going to go SDSU. Going on down, Houston is going to beat Montana. Oops, I picked the wrong team. Alabama versus Baylor. I think Alabama has a clear sight into the Sweet 16. Maryland and St. John's. I think that'll be a great game. I haven't watched Maryland enough this year to pick them over St. John's, so I am going to go St. John's. However, that could be interchangeable in my opinion. I just picked the wrong team again. Oklahoma versus Wisconsin. We're going to go Wisconsin. I think although they're not my top pick, I just think the way this bracket works out, they would beat Oklahoma, and the fact that Oklahoma will already have been playing 2 games prior to this game, I think the lack of rest will catch up to Oklahoma. That's what I'm telling myself. Then we have Houston versus SDSU. I have Houston all the way. Houston versus Wisconsin. I'm going Houston. I'm really, really high on Houston. Then St. John's versus Alabama. I'm going to go St. John's in this game. I think their defense is going to shut down Alabama. St. John's can't score the 3 though, so it could bite me in the butt saying that. But at the end of the day, I do have Houston making it to the Final Four. So honestly, as long as these 4 teams make it, I'm okay with it. And from here, I don't quite know where to go with this. Haven't decided. Getting all these ideas in my head. Auburn versus Iowa State. This is hard. This is really difficult. I think Auburn is the better offensive team. I think Iowa State's the better defensive team. I think Auburn has more options. I think Iowa State possibly might have better guards, but I also don't fully believe that. Is Auburn just the total package and can go win a whole national championship and have 4 losses the entire year? Yeah, they could. And I'm going to believe that. I'm going to go Auburn in this game. I'm going to go with Auburn. Duke versus Houston. They're very different teams, but this year, Houston's known for their defense, but this year they're also showing up on the offensive end. Duke is always just steady, always going to be top 10 team. But Houston, I feel like there's something different about them this year. So I am going to pick Houston to make it to the national championship. And talk about 2 hardcore go-at-'em teams for the final national championship game. Auburn is tough, but I think Houston is tougher. I think Auburn has more energy, but I think Houston has more of a calm confidence about them. And they both have played incredible basketball this year. I think it's going to be a close game. And I'm going to pick Houston to win it this year. I think that's my pick right now. I've been high on Houston for a while, but I just think that they're so steady, they're confident. I love how they're coached, and I have my trust in them. I think it'll be a pretty high scoring game, not as high as Auburn probably would like because it's Houston and their defense is killer. I'm going to go, it'll be 75. It's going to be close. I'm going to go 75 to 72. So the total 147 total points. We have Houston winning the entire thing. This is my this is my final pick. I have Houston winning the 2025 Bracketology. That's my pick right now. Let me know down below what you guys pick, what your thoughts are, and I will be doing a Cinderella one coming soon, and I'm going to be doing multiple of these a week up until the tournament. I'm so excited. Make sure you guys subscribe down below to join the Gem Baller Media community. There's going to be a ton of college basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.